Right, sorry, I've not been doing a lot of filming on these rafters. I've just been busy beavering away with it. I'm also not an expert on roofing, so if you want to learn how to cut a roof on, go watch somebody else on YouTube. We've got like a bit of a bow in some of these beams. I've just been checking that this eaves beam is dead level and we've got it plumb and straight, so it's pretty good as a reference. I've also levelled the top of these, like a few of the joints here, just kicked up a little bit at the ends. So I've been down and got that as level as I could, just give myself the best playing field, and then checked each end, so that end and this end, a bird's mouth cut on like a template, up to the ridge there, down to there with the bird's mouth in. It's really good each end. The middle is obviously way out, like up to 10mm different with these beams bowing. So yeah, the key is just to cut them all to the smallest setting that you know they're going to fit, and then cut them in, let them in to suit, lengthen that plumb cut out until they fit in. So yeah, I've got a good few hours now of routering all these little housings for these rafters to go on, so wish me luck. So I'm just routering these in here. I've got my little template that I'm screwing to the beam in the location of every rafter, and just using it to route around with that trend router cutter. So I'll put a link to that cutter in the description. Really good tool. Can't recommend it enough, especially for big housings and big rebates. It just makes mincemeat of it. I've never used a router cutter like it. I can't really explain why it's so different, but yeah, really good bit of kit. Got progressively more difficult as I went down the run of the garage because everything got taller, so the router was much higher above my head. So yeah, not easy, and not made easy by the lead flapping down above me at the same time, but managed to get it done, and good job done as well. Since I'm here late tonight, it's a great time to get the laser out and check the top of this ridge beam. Make sure that that's all nice and straight, so I can just eye the rafter into that edge, and everything should be golden. Just test fitting the rafters here along the garage run, and we use 4 at the joints, so the 2 ends, and then the 2 joints of the main like eaves beams where them splices are, just to get an even or straight run down the entire length of the garage run, because the wall plate is straight. That then straightened out the beams and leveled up the posts along the front. Then just work my way along, checking each rafter into the like the plumb cut and the seat cut, and because them beams were slightly bent in places, like bowed outwards, some of the seat cuts needed a little bit of relief to drag them in so that they met the eaves beam nicely, but turned out really nicely. I'm so pleased with how all the cuts worked out. There you go, you got them on. Got to come off to be plain, but just checking them all. Beautiful. In the workshop now, and going to run these things through the planer. But this is what you can expect if you've not got a workshop and want one. This is what you can expect it to look like when you're really busy. There's just stuff thrown everywhere. Screws, and you know, when the weather's catchy and you've got to get stuff done, you go in, you get what you need to do done, and you get out again. And this is kind of how it gets left. This is all stuff from working in the barn next door that gets left in the doorway because you're taking it in and out daily. So yeah, time for a little tidy up before we push these things through the planer. That is a massive sack. Borrowed this from a friend, so I'm just going to give it a good wipe down, sharpen the blade, and make sure it's all waxed and not going to rust for him when he puts it into storage. So it's good for him to lend it to me to get him a little bit of cash. Not cost me a lot to use, but also he's got a machine that comes back in great condition, ready to use. And there's been no inconvenience to him, because why should lending a machine to someone else be an inconvenience to you? So that's how I would want to receive it back. So I'm just going to do as and what I can to make it as good as possible. I've also found something for him that he's lost. There's a riving knife in there. I won't mention it to him, he might have lost that. That little beauty. Unusual bit of grain. Just a series of tiny little knots and swells, like a vein of wood. I've never seen that before. It's like the grain is folded up on itself. Look at it there. Huh. There you go, that's the first load done. 25 kilos each these are, so feeling it. Be glad when they're on and bloody out of the way. Right, that was a busy day that I shouldn't have really had to do. A lot of work and lifting. So yeah, it is what it is, and we just got to get on with it, haven't we? But yeah, seriously underestimated how much work there was in getting them purlins like mortised and cut in place, checked and planed up. I thought maybe a couple of days work for me on my own, but I don't even think I would have cut them on my own unless you use like a portable bandsaw or a handsaw. I suppose if you think about it, every one of these is like a mortise and tenon that you're making on every rafter, an angled mortise and tenon. Yeah, it's quite a lot of work involved in it, and just physically lumping them around. One of the 8-foot ones on the garage run, I put them on my little scales in the workshop. It was 23 and a half kilos or something, after I'd planed it down to 72mm, not 75, and chopped about a foot off the end of it. So yeah, best part of 25 kilos, and I've moved them around God knows how many times, lifts them up and down the scaffolding. So yeah, serious amount of work. Do not underestimate the amount of work in the purlins. That almost chopping the mortises on the beams and getting all that lot done was for me the easy bit, because that's my job. I'm not a roofer, I don't do site carpentry. So yeah, that's quite eye-opening really, how much work that was. One last thing, if anyone's watching this and has used a lot of green oak, what would you put on it to protect the colour of the oak, but not make it go mouldy or anything like that? Obviously Osmo do a product which is 4001 or something, Osmo 4001, but yeah, looking for a product that will keep the colour of the oak, but not build up too much of a film that it's going to go mouldy behind it, because that's normally the problem with the green oak, is that you seal the outer surface too much, then it just traps the moisture in and it turns white or black and just goes mouldy underneath the finish. So don't want that to happen, but we want to try and preserve, or the customer wants to try and preserve the colour. I think I would personally have had it all like rough sawn. I like the rough sawn effect of green oak. Yeah, and just left it quite natural. But yeah, so try and preserve that colour. If anyone knows of anything, then drop me a comment. I'd be really appreciate it. Or equally, if anyone's used that Osmo 4001, then yeah, let me know how you got on with it and what it actually did on the green oak, whether it protected it or it was just a primer and it rubbed off or wore off after a while.